Hey everyone, welcome back to the long road to hell. This is Alvaro Cortez Jr., aka Lance Danger, almost 16-year veteran of making indie comics and web comics and zines and pretty much everything in between. And this is the final stretch, this is the final episode. Yay! Hooray! This is the final episode. And I still haven't finished the third draft. Well, the draft to issue 3 anyway. But yeah, hopefully that'll come along soon. I just kind of wanted to share this painting that, again, I was reorganizing the apartment and kind of unpacking a lot of like my art materials that I hadn't gotten around to unpacking, so I can start using them in the new year and whatnot. And I happened to find this painting. If you've been following me on social media or my YouTube for years, you'll recognize this painting. It was used as part of the student exhibit at Kingsborough Community College when I was doing my 2-year degree in fine arts, my associate's degree. This painting was selected by the professor, my painting professor, to be part of the exhibit. I was lucky enough to have 2 pieces actually in that exhibit. This one and sculpture from my sculpture class was also presented as well. Except that the sculpture, I don't have it anymore. I wasn't able to bring it in one of the times that we moved from apartments, so unfortunately that one's lost. I do have pictures and the video of it because I did record a video and posted it on my YouTube as well. I'll probably leave a link or something if I remember to link this up. If not, you can call me out in the comments and I'll put a link to it in the description. But yeah, this was actually fun to do. If you don't know the story also, I had said it before, but I had a hairline fracture on my right hand, on my pinky area. And I actually had a half cast on my right hand. So this was like in the middle of finals for that semester. So I actually finished painting this painting with my left hand. I did a lot of it with my left hand, and sometimes I'll just get frustrated and kind of move the cast aside and start doing it with my right hand also. So I finished like 3 paintings like that for this class. Like, the professor was astonished that I just almost went into beast mode doing these paintings because I wasn't going to let a fracture set me back, you know. A lot of the paintings I had already done the foundation for it. You know, I had primed the canvases for the paintings and had already sketched it out. Like any other situation, I probably would have had to get an incomplete or file to finish the class on the following semester. But since the professor saw that I was pretty advanced before I had the fracture, and since he saw that I had the determination to complete these paintings, he actually did cut me a break and said, you know, if you really are able to finish these paintings, I will accept them if they're on time, and I will grade you according to the situation that you're in. So he was a very, very fair professor in that sense, and thankfully I did not let him down. I did all my paintings, did the best that I could, and I don't know if it was like out of mercy or pity or I don't know, maybe he did legitimately like this painting in particular, that he liked it well enough to put it as part of the class exhibit, the student exhibit, which is very, very freaking cool. When they did the opening for the exhibit, it's like in their art museum that they have on campus, which is actually it's very small, but it's actually very nice. And, you know, they had like this big presentation. There was food and drinks. It was like so freaking cool. Like I have to say that was one of the coolest moments of my life, especially as an artist when this happened. So yeah, I kind of like found this painting again, and I posted it around just to like show it around, and I just wanted to talk about it for a little bit. So yeah, hopefully to kind of pump myself up too for the rest of the week. Like again, I'm going to be recording for the rest of the week, and then 2 days next week, so it can be like the whole 100 days. So I'm just going to be doing like 9 days in this video rather than 7 days like in the previous ones. Yes, so it could be all nice and tucked in when I finish the video series. All right, so you guys know that I rarely give in to drama. Maybe there was a time when I was younger that I probably would have eaten it all up. And even to an extent, I wouldn't like search for drama just for the sake of it or talk just because I wanted to get involved into drama. A lot of the times it would usually be either defending a colleague or defending myself if I needed to, if there was like something like a blatant lie told about me or something. Then yeah, like I would like hop into the drama in that sense. But this is something that was bothering me, and I just finished live streaming. So if you hear my voice is a little hoarse, it's because of that combination of the live streaming and, of course, my dental procedure that happened last week. I had seen this like last week actually, and I was kind of sitting on it where two mainstream creators kind of, just for the sake of throwing shade at creators that they don't like, through independent creators that had nothing to do with whatever silly drama they have going on under the bus. So I kind of wanted to like let cooler heads prevail and see if they walk back their statements, but they kind of doubled down. And that's why I decided to do this live stream, because sometimes you have to stand up for yourself also. It's not so much about drama but about principles and manners and honor and nobility and whatnot. And sometimes you just have to stand up for yourself. Like, I can see why they made that statement, mostly attacking creators that make YouTube videos. Like, I won't go too much into it if you want to watch the live stream. I don't know if I'm going to keep the video up. I might make a truncated version of it later on, but oh my goodness. Like, in a nutshell, these mainstream creators took a shot across the bow just to get the attention of these other creators that they don't like. And it kind of forsaked, at least in my opinion, any independent creator that came in between. So I just made it know that that was not cool. That's actually kind of an asshole thing to do, to just kind of step on other smaller creators just to make yourself look like this big white knight. It's just silly. It's just stupid, in my opinion, to do these kind of things. Like, this is a very high school thing to do, and even high schoolers would have more presence of mind. I think I would like to give them the benefit of the doubt that they wouldn't like do the things these people do sometimes. And I stay away from the drama. I stay away from those little spats that mainstream creators have with other creators from Comicsgate and whatever. Like, I don't care. They're both my competition at the end of the day, like I said in this live stream. So, like, that's kind of like my stance. I mostly ignore Comicsgate because a lot of their stuff really isn't really catered to my tastes anyway. And the same with the mainstream. There's a lot of mainstream stuff that I ignore because it doesn't really cater to my tastes either. So it's kind of a live and let live situation if people would just ignore each other and move on. the industry would be in so much would be in such a better place and a healthier place, I think, especially when it comes to mental health. Like I see a lot of these artists and creators on Twitter, and that's kind of like the first thing that comes to mind. Sometimes, like, man, that person needs a mental health break from the internet. Like seriously, like I'm on the verge of closing my Twitter because of all this ridiculousness. You know, I could have just expended my energy doing more of my comic, and yet here I am doing like a 2 hour live stream, the longest live stream I've ever done, and my face says it all. You know, I even had a drink. You know, I drank in this live stream. Sometimes I think social media was a mistake, man, and that's kind of like how I started this video. I started saying that there's no other way to put it. There just really isn't any other way to put it sometimes. Anyway, I worked a little bit on the draft for the third issue of Hell Beneath You. I think I started to get in a comfortable place to actually finish it, hopefully today or tomorrow. We'll see. As I was telling you guys earlier, I believe it was in the last video, again, like sometimes time really gets weird and affected with me doing these videos like this. But anyway, I had updated the channel art for my YouTube channel, and I decided to update the cover art for my Facebook art page. Again, I'm keeping it more or less within the same line of like the color scheme and the theme of like an intranet virtual kind of stuff that I've always had since I started being online, really. It's sort of become my quote-unquote brand, so to speak. And of course I have the image there, not completely, but kind of a bit of a teaser of chapter 28 of Warlord, the chapter cover. I thought it would be kind of nice to put that there too, and to kind of give a taste of what's going to be coming in 2022, hopefully, with Warlord and such. So yeah, this was actually pretty fun to do. It kind of reminds me of the old websites I used to have on Angel Fire. If anyone even knows or remembers what Angel Fire was, look it up. It's if you don't, I guess it'll be an interesting bit of internet trivia. What was Angel Fire? Lycos. Oh my god. Anyway, my swelling has been going down a bit, and I'm able to talk a little more. I need a little more solid food after the whole dental procedure. It should be back to normal by next week, so let's see. So I uploaded episode 5 of the Serene Chaos podcast. I uploaded it since it became public on my Patreon. I usually put it about a week and a half, 2 weeks before I upload it to Podomatic and other other podcast hosting sites. I'm sorry if I'm like tripping over my words. I'm still kind of, you know, my dental procedure kind of goes back and forth with it being sore and whatnot, and right now it's kind of like the sore phase again. So yeah, I uploaded episode 5 to Podomatic, my writing process for Nevermind. Later in the week, I'm going to be uploading episode 6 on Patreon. It's going to be the last early access of the year, and it's going to be the first podcast of the year once that one becomes public. But in terms of like public podcasts, this is the last one for 2021. I guess it's kind of a fitting one to end the year on, with the writing process for Nevermind. I'm super excited, super happy that the return of the podcast has been pretty good. Every single episode has shot into the top 10 most listened and download it in the visual arts category, which is pretty freaking cool. I really haven't kept up to speed with the other numbers like on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and whatnot. Like, I really haven't promoted it as much as I should promote it, but that's something that I'm going to leave more for 2022, really, once I kind of, get into the groove of things and start rolling out a lot of content, hopefully. Well, not a lot of content. I have to kind of reel back from what I've been doing lately and the original plans I have for 2021. Mostly so I can take care of myself physically and not burn myself out mentally or creatively as well. So I'll have to take a bit of a slower pace, but put content out there steadily, slow and steady, winning the race instead of just trying to, run myself into the ground, trying to win this race. So yeah, let's do this turtle style. All right, so I had a bit of a visual breakthrough. I'm still in the process of doing the first draft of issue 3, but I decided to take a small break and just finally start giving more of a visual aspect to the story for Hell Beneath You. So I finally did the character sheet for JJ, also known as Jacob Young. He is the father in the family. He's not muscular or anything like that, but he is pretty fit. In the story, he is an architect. Sorry, again, I'm having a little bit of trouble, my gum where the procedure is flaring up because the stitches are finally starting to come undone. They're supposed to come undone naturally, so they've been coming undone, and it's been feeling pretty raw when it does. But anyway, I'm starting to work on the visual aspect on it, at least little by little, while I also try to get my bearings with issue number 3. One of the things that's cool in that sense is that issues 1 and 2 are going, and those two parts of the story, the characters are going to look relatively the same. So I can definitely do the character sheets, at least for that part of the story, and then issue 3 onwards. There's a bit of a time skip between issues 2 and 3, so the characters do kind of change their appearance a little bit afterwards. But at the very least, I'm finally doing the character sheets themselves, and this is very exciting. Even if I don't sound it, it's because I had to take pills because of the pain. But at least there's, even though it's very slow, there is some level of progress. So I am happy about that in that aspect. So today I actually took a break from doing the draft for issue number 3, and I kind of wanted to continue the momentum, illustrating the characters out a little bit. This is the mother of the family, Pilar Young Ortega. That's her character sheet. As you can see, she's relatively fit as well as JJ. They are kind of like this couple that likes to stay healthy and whatnot. She is a doctor, so of course they're going to also kind of strive to be healthy and whatnot, especially their children as well. She was a lot of fun to sketch, actually. So now I have the parents' character sheets locked down, which is very fun, and again a huge step in the development of this comic. I almost feel like there were so many spots in between these 100 days where everything was so slow to get to this point. But at the very least, I kept myself busy doing other creative stuff because it is, after all, 100 days of making comics. So I've been busy creating other aspects of comic making as well, and doing other creative stuff like the podcasts, live streaming, sketching, and all that good stuff. So at the very least, I've been able to consistently be creative for all of whatever days this is now, these days straight, so that is a big victory in that sense, because it's been a long time since I've been consistently doing comic book work or creative work and whatnot. So yeah, now that I'm coming towards the end of this video series, I feel like I'm starting to pick up again, even though I'm kind of stalled with issue 3. Now that I'm doing the illustrations, the character sheets and whatnot, I feel like things are really starting to pick up again in terms of the creative flow for Hell Beneath You, as well as doing that promotional collage for issue number 3 of Project New Wave that's going to appear as promotional artwork. So yeah, hopefully there's going to be more stuff coming out in these last few days. I really do want to at least finish the 3rd issue first draft before the 100 days is over. That would be pretty cool. Like, ideally, I would have at least issue 4 done as well, just so I can have like half of the miniseries done. But yeah, like, at least you're able to see that those steps of going through writing the drafts, trying to decide which scene goes where, the character she's starting to come to life now, and all the craziness that can happen in 100 days when you're trying to make your comic. I've uploaded the final early access post for Patreon. It is episode 6, as I mentioned before, I believe in the previous segment or whatever. Episode 6 of the Serene Chaos podcast. It is my visual process for making Nevermind, which is kind of fitting in a way. One of the last podcast I put on Podomatic was the writing process for Nevermind. This is the visual process for Nevermind. And it's just been fun doing these podcasts again. Like right now, I'm in the mid-season of the podcast, of the planned 12 episodes. This is the 6th one. Every episode has come out on time so far. Right on schedule, so I'm very, very happy about that. It's already double than the first season, if you want to call it, and the first 3 episodes of the first season came out in the span of a couple of years with everything that happened with me. So to be able to, in the last couple of months, put this out consistently has been a huge win for me personally and creatively as well. It's been very fulfilling to do this and share all of this with all of you. I uploaded my last video of the year onto YouTube, and it is the visual process of how I do Fred Peterson, the Mighty Warlord. Even if it's New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, Christmas Eve, any holiday, when you're an independent comic creator or just an independent creator, you have to kind of push through no matter what kind of holiday if you want to get your stuff out there. So yeah, I've been able to stay consistent this past month, uploading videos on my YouTube again on Fridays. My YouTube channel has actually grown quite a bit since then. I now have 92 subscribers. I think I said in the last week's video also that I was at around 92 subscribers as well. So after hovering around 50, 57 subscribers throughout the year, like started to get more and more subs and whatnot has been pretty cool. The views are up, the watch time is up as well. And I've just been having fun, and I hope it's been showing on these videos, whether it be the live streams or Danger Zone or the podcast. I've just been having fun this time around and not putting so much pressure on myself to put out content out there all the time, especially with the hundreds videos. I put so much pressure on myself that at one point it just stopped being fun, and doing the videos became more of a chore than doing the comics themselves. And once that starts to happen, you have to kind of sit and reflect and just kind of like trim where the burnout can start. And that's pretty much what I had to do, and why I had to like repurpose this 100 series the way I'm doing it now. So far I've been having a lot more fun doing it this way. I don't really feel the pressure at all of updating every single day, and it's just been fun to do it like this. It really is. And I've always had fun kind of like tinkering around with the whole production aspect of things too. So yeah, hopefully when you guys watch this series, you'll have some fun or get some value out of it. And I know I say that a couple of times because, it's true. Aside from wanting to document all this stuff that I'm doing, like for this very selfish reason of like to kind of remind myself and to also like keep myself accountable of the stuff I'm putting out there, I do want people to have fun with it as well. And if any of you can find any value to this or any inspiration to this at all, that's really fantastic. It really does mean a lot to me when that actually does happen. And it has happened that other creators will sometimes tell me that they were inspired to do something because of something that I have posted or that I've done, or that I haven't quit because I've gone through a lot of things, but I keep pushing forward. Again, like I know I've said it many times before, but that's the biggest message I want to portray in this series. If anything, keep pushing forward. Hey everyone, I just wanted to say a quick happy new year. I hope everyone has a great 2022. And if you're a creative such as myself, I wish that you all have a year full of inspiration, motivation, dedication. I hope that all the goals that you have set creatively for 2022 comes true, and that you will be able to excel in any creative field that you are trying to be in or that you're currently in. The only thing that I do not wish you to have is to have quit in you. I do not want you to have quit in you at all, unless it's detrimental to your physical or mental health. I want you to hang in there and keep pushing forward. Always keep pushing forward. Happy New Year. I updated Webamani Webito with strip number 7. It's been a lot of fun doing this, the Truthful Comics edition of it. Since last year, I had fallen behind because of COVID and a lot of stuff. I was kind of updating simultaneously Webamani Webito and Stupid the Cat on Saturdays, and on Sundays, Nevermind and The Cannon Girl simultaneously as well. But I didn't want to risk burning out, and since I'm still recovering from a few things physically, did decide to just hold one strip while I put the other one up. And I went by the ones that are closest to finishing. So this was the 7th strip. I decided that I'm only going to keep posting Webamani Webito on Saturday until I finish it, and then I'll resume updating with Stupid the Cat. And the same on Sundays with The Cannon Girl and Nevermind. The Cannon Girl is halfway through compared to season 2 of Nevermind, which had just started. So I'm just going to continue with The Cannon Girl until that one's over. And then I'll continue with Nevermind season 2. That way I don't burn myself out and I don't spread myself too thin either, working on 4 strips at the same time, not counting my web comics and my comic books and all the other side projects that I'm doing as well. I just want to like kind of conserve that energy and not burn out, so I can pace myself throughout this new year and have things come out consistently rather than it not come out at all, because I'm too stubborn to realize that I'm doing this alone and I can't do all that stuff at the same time. It's like I haven't learned my lesson. Like something relatively similar happened to me back in the mid 2000s, where I started doing a little too many projects at the same time and I burned out. Only that this time I kind of want to stop in a place where I'm not going to get burned out and be able to continue doing stuff as well. So hopefully I'll be able to consistently upload stuff throughout the year. It's that time again. I broke out the Office binder. Hell Beneath You, issue 3, first draft, Roads Untraveled. It is finally done. I had a bit of a writing block with this episode, mostly because, again, a lot of things happening. I had to like take things slow also because of the dental procedure. So I wasn't really feeling myself 100% physically. Aside from that, I haven't been able to get also the physical therapy for my shoulders. I was starting to act up a little bit again. Like it's not like in pain or constant pain like before, but it is stiffening up a little bit because I haven't even been able to do some of the home exercises or go to the gym as much as I would have liked with all the stuff that's been happening. So, issue 3, as you may have seen in the previous video segments before, in the earlier episodes when I was coming up with the titles and like the plot points for each issue, this issue is a turning point in this series. And one of the things that kind of had me a bit blocked in this relatively limited time that I was writing it, due to the physical constraints, it was the pacing for this issue. This story is a bit of a slow burn, kind of like how a lot of horror stories from, back in the day were. Since it's very inspired by those kinds of stories. I know I have mentioned before Pet Sematary a lot. Pet Sematary is one of my all-time favorite horror stories. So there's definitely a lot of influence from that as well. And also The Shining. So it is kind of a bit of a slow build-up, and for something that's a little more recent, that was kind of a throwback to those kind of horror movies. Hereditary also kind of helped influence this story a little bit as well. I saw Hereditary in the theaters when it first came out, and I absolutely loved that movie. Like, it was one of my most favorite horror movies that I have seen in a long time. And it's one of the very few horror movies that actually, like, didn't, like, creep me out, but it did make me go, like, whoa, at some points. And that's always a good thing, especially in horror movies, when they can kind of surprise you and kind of, I hate to say make you feel uncomfortable, because it's not quite uncomfortable. Like, yeah, well, I guess uncomfortable would be the word. It's like, eek, oh my goodness, kind of deal, like not an uncomfortable in the sense of, oh, I don't like this, I really am not enjoying this, but more of an uncomfortable of like, eek, or something like that. I know I have a great way with words. I am a writer after all. But yeah, issue 3 is a bit of a turning point because they're the family. Things start getting a little more like hints of some of the plots start dropping a little bit more in this issue, especially towards the end. And now I have to make a big decision actually, because just as I had finished writing this, I realized that the small town that they're moving to is Stephen Kill's called Tranquility. Actually, it's the same name as a Puerto Rican comic. Um, a Puerto Rican comic where the story takes place in a small town named Tranquility Bay. So, and the name of the title of the comic is actually Tranquility Bay. And I did not know this as I started writing this. So yeah, I'm definitely going to change the name of the town, mainly because I don't want it to seem like I'm trying to one up the other creator or copy the other creator or whatnot. It's one of those things that just happens in any creative field, where things just kind of line up like that. I'm actually interested in buying that comic, like a lot of colleagues. A surprisingly large amount of colleagues has that comic, and I don't know how I didn't know about that comic until recently. So I'm definitely going to be purchasing it soon as I have like the time and the space to be able to sit down and read more calmly. I have such a large pile of comics that I haven't read since all the way back in April when I had COVID. So yeah, I have a lot of reading to get through, but I'll probably order it soon and leave it like on my must read pile, towards the top or something. Like I have a lot to go through to read. So yeah, I am going to change that name of Tranquility, for the sake of continuity in the scripts itself. I'm going to leave it as the same name. So knowing myself later on, if I switch the name of the town in the middle of the story, I'm capable of writing it as Tranquility in the comic and then a different name towards the end of the story or something. So just for the sake of continuity, I'm going to leave it as Tranquility in the scripts. I'll write a little note at the end to remember to change the name of the town. And yeah, I'll change it by the end. Again, like this is just the first draft, luckily enough, so I can just easily change the name of the town in a later draft or in the final draft and whatnot. So yeah, I'm pretty excited. Like, whew, issue 3 has its first draft. And as I've been showing you, I've been working on the visual design aspect of the book itself as well. So I've been looking a lot at Resident Alien and Umbrella Academy for the inspiration, actually, for the kind of look and aesthetic of the comic book. So hopefully I'll be able to get inspiration from that and give it my own twist as well, when I start doing the actual comic. Anyway, it's been an eventful Saturday, really. It's been very busy. As I mentioned the previous segment, I updated Wepa Mani Wepita. I did the artwork for the Cannon Girl. I'll be showing that in the following segment on Sunday when I show the page being updated and whatnot. It is the new year. I have started it off with a lot of productivity, actually. Like, I feel like I'm being more productive towards the end of this series than I was, like, in the middle. And I know a lot of stuff happened, from personal things that happened and physical ailments that struck throughout these 100 days. Probably more than any other 100 days videos, because I actually went through my older 100 days videos just to make the trailer for this challenge. And yeah, like aside from that 1 year where I fractured my hand and then the following year I fractured a finger, like it wasn't that many challenges as it was for these 100 days, to be honest. Like challenges in the sense of like stuff affecting my physical and mental health, you know. And when I say like mental health, it's not even like burnout from doing the comics. It's just life happening, really. Like a lot of side stuff happening in the family. As many of you know, I have lost quite a few people that were close to me this year. One of my closest friends died from a stroke. My girlfriend's mother passed away due to COVID, and one of my uncles passed away due to a sudden heart attack. And of course, our eldest cat Fiona, passed away as well. So it's been a year of a lot of losses. 2021 was. You know, it started with like that big loss of my friend Lanny, and you know, after April with the COVID, everything just kind of went downhill. Um, I don't know. Like it was a challenging year, and I know I'm not alone in that. It's been a challenging year for the entire world, really. But here we are. It's a new year. Hopefully, new things and renewed strength and renewed conviction, and you know, let's get this done, people. All right, so today I continue doing the character sheets. Today I did the character sheet for the teenage daughter, Sol Young, and it was a lot of fun. Like, I'm doing like these character sketches and character sheets. The style that are actually on the sheets aren't really like reflective of the style of how the comic itself is going to be. It's mostly to give myself an idea, a visualization of how I'm going to do the characters. I've been doing these character sheets a little more close to my usual style, a little more cartoony, borderline manga-esque, especially this character here. I'm probably the little kid. Her siblings are going to be like that as well. But again, I'm going to go more for a Paul Logan kind of style, which is the artist of Resident Alien, which is a bit more, I would say there's like a little bit of Mike Golden in his art. And I don't know, his art style just fits Resident Alien so perfectly that I kind of want to have that style more or less for Hell Beneath You. So this is the teenage daughter, Sol. She's wearing a Nirvana shirt, of course. Like, I'm trying to like make her relatively useful as possible. At this stage, she's 16 years old. She's about to move on to be a senior in high school. So even though she is a teenager, she's an older teenager. So she's like starting to grow up and such as a character, physically and mentally. And this is an interesting character that, at least in my opinion, an interesting character that I've been writing for this mini series. Like, hopefully people will like her character arc, her development throughout the story. Last year, at the beginning of the year, I started writing these daily blogs at the Truthful Comics website, which again is www.truthfulcomics.com. And they were like some mini blogs, micro blogs, as you would like, if you will, where I would kind of like show updates of what I'm going to do for the rest of the year. And sometimes I'll show exclusive works in progress, exclusive artwork, and what have you. And a lot of people had a lot of fun with that, and I certainly had a lot of fun doing them as well. So I decided to like make this into a yearly tradition where in January I'll just take to blogging every day at the Truthful Comics website to kind of show the stuff that I'm working on, my own creations, as well as the stuff with Manuel Carmona, the co-founder of Truthful Comics. And, you know, just have fun with it and set these goals and hopefully look back and compare it to the previous year's goal and see how well I did, or see where I may have to take accountability for things that I wasn't able to produce. I know that at least 85% of my goals from last year did not come to fruition. I must sound like a broken record by now, but if this happens to be the first episode that you're watching, I did get COVID in April. It did throw all my plans upside down. So it was a process of recovery after I got COVID. A lot of personal stuff happened as well. But throughout that whole time, I never quit, and I didn't really let me get it as down as it probably would have any other year for some reason. Like I don't know if I don't know if I'm being driven by spite or something. But I'm like, okay, I wasn't able to do that this year, but I'm going to do it in 2022. And if I'm not able to do it then I'm going to keep going and going and going until I am able to finish all those goals. So a lot of goals from last year are being moved to this year, and hopefully I'll be able to slowly get all that productivity out. I did change the pace to a much slower pace compared to the more hectic pace I started out last year. I did start off with a lot of productivity, a lot of stuff going out, but then of course things happened, and it was just it's hard to even find the words sometimes, man, because again, you like set these goals and you try to accomplish them, and then outside things are the things that kind of delay you and stop you. And I find that more frustrating than if I failed myself. If I stand or fall by my own merits, I can live with that. But when outside interference happens and I can't do something, that's when it kind of boils inside me a little bit. But again, like, it wasn't as bad as any other year, I guess. Maybe it's a sign of growing up or a sign of maturity. Call it what you will, but I just call it being driven by spite at this point, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So, this is the first blog of the year, day one. Kind of just taking accountability that I wasn't able to do everything that I had planned last year, but I'm going to do things at a much slower pace and try to stay as healthy as possible to be able to put out more material and more content throughout the year.
Say what?
Say what?
Say what?
Say what?
Say
what?
What? Say what?
Seriously, guys, if you're ever in the city and you're a fan of cheesecakes and pastries, go to Uncle Tetsu's. Just search Uncle Tetsu's Times Square. You'll be happy. Here is the character sheets for the youngest child in the Young family, Jiho Young and Mark Anthony Young. Again, like, it's a little more cartoony than what I want to do for this series. But again, these are kind of like with the first drafts for the writing aspect, the scripts. This is kind of like all these four character sheets are my first draft, really, of these characters. So they will be looking quite different by the time the comic book actually starts being illustrated and starts being put out there. Again, this is a pair of twins, Jiho and Mark Anthony. So I just did one character sheet for both of them. They are identical twins, so I kind of just kept it with one character sheet for the two characters. It's been interesting to do a family kind of story. That's really something I really haven't done now that I think about it. And the only other kind of like straight horror story I did, which hasn't been released yet through Silver Island Studios, has horror elements to it, and it also involves a family too, so that's very interesting, at least to me. I guess Fred Pearson, the Mighty Warlord, kind of touches on family dynamics as well, but it doesn't really focus on family so much as the characters and how they relate to their family and the family to other characters as well. Like, for example, Fred and Jane, how Jane's mother doesn't like Fred at all, even though she knows Fred and his parents from a long time back. Like, Fred's parents and Jane's parents go back as far as college, actually. So they all kind of met at the same age now that Fred and Jane and all the other characters in Warlord are. So there isn't really much of a focus on family in that sense, like Hell Beneath You is going to have. It's the first kind of story that I will like write about a family dynamic and such. So it's definitely something challenging, I guess, to do. But in a way, like, some of my favorite horror movies kind of involve families anyway. So I guess that's why when I think of horror movies and such, I kind of gravitate to like somewhat of a family kind of story as well. Here is another blog, the second blog of the year for these goals that I have for 2022. As you can see, the first blog, I just made like a general statement and taking accountability for not being able to reach my goals last year. And just kind of like letting everyone know, like, hey, I'm going to be doing this stuff, but it's going to be at a slower pace while my body heals and while I tend to other personal matters as well. And this blog is just going more specifically into the webcomic version of Fred Peterson, The Mighty Warlord, and the goals that I have for it. And I did the cover reveal for chapter 28, which I hadn't really revealed yet. I had only shown the black and white version and teased this image a little bit in the new YouTube cover page, banner rather, and in my Facebook art page cover art as well. So here is like the full image of chapter 28's cover. One of the most fun covers I've ever done. I really had so much fun making this cover. Chapter 28, I'm trying to do it simultaneously with chapter 27. Chapter 27 is almost halfway through, so that's one of my big goals for 2022 is to finally finish chapter 27 and chapter 28. And if I'm able to finish anything after chapter 28, or at least start chapter 29, that will be gravy. That will be like the icing and the cherry on top if I'm able to do that. And I just wanted to show you guys real quickly. This is page 8 for chapter 27. This is just the sketch of it. As you can see, this is just the digital sketch compared to like the original pencil sketch that I did. Like, if I turn up the opacity, you can see the pencils just barely underneath, because that's pretty much my process. I'll scan the page I sketched briefly on, and then I clean it up in the Clip Studio with digital sketching. And then after that, after the digital sketch, that's when I do the full digital inks and put in the details and what have you on the page. Since I decided to update it one page a week for the time being, while the other projects are being knocked out as well and finished, I am taking my time on it to make it look better. I know that this chapter, a few pages looked very rushed. Again, it was also due to the fact that I was working with a lot of stuff and I was trying to knock out as much content as I could to meet the goals that I had established myself for 2021. But since I'm still kind of recovering from a lot of physical ailments, I am taking things a little more slowly. So I am dedicating a lot more time to the line art of the webcomic as well. And hopefully it'll be one of the better looking webcomics that I've done. As I mentioned in the previous segment, this is the latest upload of the Cannon Girl Truthful Comics edition. It's been a strip that I'm having a lot of fun with lately. revisiting that original strip and doing them again with a bit of a more modern twist now, since that was like 2008, 2009 or something like that the original came out. So it's just been fun. And one thing that I've been having a lot doing these strips and my web comics and my comics again is I've been having a lot of fun again. And sometimes when you're doing creative stuff, sometimes it kind of becomes, I don't know, it kind of becomes habit, I guess. And you do have to have the habit of creating to be able to put content out there, because if you don't get that habit, then you'll be inconsistent putting things out. And if you ever encounter a creative block or something, it's going to be much more difficult, in my opinion, to get over that block as compared if you don't already have the habit of putting things out there. So, you know, you kind of make yourself work through it, and eventually you won't even realize that you got over that creative block. And I think that's been kind of what's been happening as well with all this lately. Throughout these 100 days, it's one of the most productive that I've ever had, actually. And even though I'm not finishing any projects like in the previous hundreds, where I was going to finish a chapter of Warlord, or I was going to finish a season of Nevermind, or I was going to finish Stupid the Cat or The Mysterious Exorcist, I wasn't focused on finishing for this 100 days challenge. I was more focused on getting the habit back of getting my feet under me again after being knocked around physically and emotionally with a roller coaster year that 2021 was. So I did it as a challenge to myself to, even if it was like 5 minutes at this rate, to work on something creative. Of course, I focused a lot on Hell Beneath You because I do want to give like a certain theme and focus to these episodes rather than it feeling too random. So, of course, I'm going to talk more about Hell Beneath You compared to other projects that I'm working on. If I do another hundreds video, I'll probably make a poll asking if you guys want it to be more focused on Hell Beneath You or focused on any of the other comics I'm working on, or if you would like to have a more balanced kind of general look at all the projects that I'm working on rather than just like talk more specifically about one project compared to the others. So yeah, the Cannon Girl, the same as with Wepamani Wepito, they're the ones that are the most advanced in terms of the strips. So those are the two that I'm going to be tackling on Saturday and Sunday until they're finished. I've already done a couple of more strips that I have ready to upload when Sunday comes. The same with Wepamani Wepito. I have a couple of more done already to update on Saturday. So I just kind of want to knock these out first since they are the closest to finishing and some of the more simpler strips that I'm doing as well. And then after I do that, I'll finish uploading the first season of Stupid the Cat, and I'll finish production on Nevermind Truthful Comics Edition Season 2. Hopefully I will be printing out a handful of books this year. Aside from the Cannon Girl Truthful Comics Edition Season 1, I also want to do Nevermind Truthful Comics Edition Season 2. And I do want to do a black and white version of Stupid the Cat. The reason being is that the color version I didn't realize was going to cost almost as much as like a full comic rather than a mini comic, since I printed it in color. So I want to do a black and white version as well with the Cannon Girl. The Cannon Girl, I'm going to print it in black and white because I want it to be a little more affordable since they are mini comics. In the future, I might do like a collected edition where I collect all these mini comics, all these different mini comics, and maybe like a full comic book size and have them be like a perfect edition where the colored strips are in color and whatnot, and have it be like some kind of special edition bundle or something if anyone would be interested in that. That's definitely something I would explore in the future once there's more content available for each of these strips. And depending on how well received they might be or not as well. Because at the end, it's the reader that decides if something like this is, worth being collected and whatnot. And I also do want to finally print out the Truthful Comics edition of Fred Peterson, the Mighty Warlord as well. At least the prologue. I'm aiming for a late 2022 release. Hopefully by then I'll have a couple of chapters already done. So that way I can print it and not wait too long in between issues. I'm also thinking if I should release them as issues or just release it as just one graphic novel. I'll probably will make a poll this week asking if people would prefer like individual floppies or if they just want like the whole thing in a graphic novel, whether it be manga style or traditional American comic style and size and width and whatnot. So I'm pretty excited. The Canon Girl has been updating relatively consistently again, as well as with Pamela Wepito. As soon as they finish, Stupid the Cat and Nevermind will resume. Hopefully later in the year or next year, I'll do season 2 of Stupid the Cat as well. Again, it all really depends on how well they do and my availability to make them as well, because I do have quite a few projects under my sleeve, and Hell Beneath You is definitely one of those projects that's going to take up a lot of time to do as well, since I do want it to be one of the best, if not the best comic book I've ever done. At least the best comic book I've done yet anyway. And I do have other projects after that I'll be talking about, well, another 100 videos if I make them. So yeah, there it is. Usually this is probably where I would be signing off for the week, but since this would be day 98, I still have Monday and Tuesday to deal with, so I can do like the whole 100 days in, one nice and even package rather than do a video that's 1 week and then do the extra videos that's just 2 days. So I'm just going to like mash it all together, like the 7 days plus those 2 days. So I am going to be seeing you tomorrow. As I mentioned before, usually Mondays is the start of the next video, but since it's only 2 more days left in this 100 days challenge, I'm just going to count Monday and Tuesday as part of this week where, just so I can close everything out in one episode rather than make a regular episode and then make like the last episode be like 10 minutes or something like that, compared to the other episodes where it's been like minimum 30 minutes. So I just want to like have the whole thing in one episode rather than cut it up. I would rather like have it like that, have the content be done in one fell swoop and have it done as well as possible rather than just like have it all chopped up. And even if that means that if I would have had this episode split into 2 episodes, I probably would have gotten more views or clicks or whatnot on YouTube or wherever this may end up. But again, it's not always about the views and the clicks for me. It's more about expressing myself honestly with my art and my content, and hopefully inspiring other people to do it as well. And one of the last things that's going to be appearing on here is one of my first strips, my very first web strip, Nevermind. I did the blog of the daily blogs that I'm doing for my 2022 goals over at truthfulcomics.com, and where I talk about Nevermind and how I want the web strip to go going forward. As I mentioned in the previous segment as well, I am going to start Nevermind Season 2 Truthful Comics Edition again once the Canon Girl ends. So that way I won't burn myself out putting essentially four strips out at the same time. And even though Stupid the Cat, it's strips that was already published out there, you still have to take the time to set things up on the Facebook page and wherever else that I'm going to be uploading it as well. So I decided to take a step back and pace myself a little better. And also that way, once the new season start, it'll start off with a more fresh approach rather than, okay, here we go again after I finished everything almost all at once. So it'll give me a nice break and just a nice breather to take things at a slower pace compared to me trying to catch up to everything that I couldn't do last year. You know, I'm a one-man band in that sense. If I had the resources to pay for someone to help upload these things or someone to have as part of the art team as an assistant or something, or to just pay someone to do the tone and shading, someone else do the lettering, and in the case of the Warlord webcomic, someone else doing the lettering and the coloring and whatnot, then I'd be able to move things a little faster. But since it is just myself, I do have to realize that, especially after the kind of year I had in 2021, I have to look out for myself physically. Because if I'm not physically able to do these, more than likely I wouldn't be able to have these comics come out ever at all, unless I somehow get evergreen money from somewhere that's just enough to pay someone else to help me produce this content. And until that day comes, I'm going to be the one doing everything. So I have to be a little bit careful as well when I do these things. I'm working slowly on the webcomic for Warlord. Once I finish that page, I'm going to start working on the page for Clown Rogue Assassin. My goal is to have at least one page updates for all my webcomics. And that's going to be starting next week. Well, next week as of this video. By the time this video comes out, it would have been maybe a month or something, or maybe 2 months since I started putting up webcomics again on my page, on Patreon, Truthful Comics, the Duck webcomics, so on and so forth. I'm not so sure about Kindle Vella and Webtoons just yet. I am looking into it. I am seeing if I can fit everything into the schedule. If I do end up doing that stuff, it'll likely be towards the end of this year, and it'll be part of another 100 videos series if I decide to do another one. I probably will. Depends on if people tell me to do another one as well. This is probably the most fun 100 days of making comics videos I've ever done. Again, because I don't have that pressure that I put on myself, really, of posting something every day. It became a chore, and it became more it became more of a chore than doing the actual comics. So, taking a step back and just recording a segment here, a segment there, like I would used to do, and just taking my time one day out of the week to just, stitch everything together on my laptop. It's a lot more cathartic and a lot more fun to do that way, to be honest. At least for my personal taste and for my personal creativity, it's been a lot more fun doing it this way. So, about Hell Beneath You, I am working on the draft for issue number 4. I don't think I'll be able to finish that draft before the end of this 100 days. But as I said, the goal for these 100 days wasn't specifically to finish a comic during that time, but more like building that habit again of doing stuff every day creatively, working towards the creation of that comic. Actually, I spent the whole morning setting up my Square page and the Square Reader, so that I'll be able to go to conventions and signings or whatnot and be able to actually sell comics or sketches or prints, and just have that set up to accept credit card payment and keep track of inventory. If somebody pays cash, to keep a, you know, eye on that as well, to see, just the business aspect of everything. So I dedicated the whole morning to that as well. And it's been a long time since I actually did that. It actually felt fun doing that. I've always found it amusing and interesting, all the aspects of creating your own comic, even the business aspect like that one. I had lost my original Square card reader during the move to this new place, so I had to order a replacement, and I got it. I tested it out on my tablet, and everything is ready to go. Like, I set everything up, and all I need to do is finish some comics, order some comics, see if there isn't going to be another lockdown or something, and hopefully I'll be able to do more comic activities going as a content seller rather than a fan. So, well, I'm going to be both, really. I'm going to be a content seller and a fan because I just love comics so much to begin with. But yeah, that's pretty much the gist for today. The funny thing is that, like, since it's the day before that I finished wrapping up the video, I actually go through the stuff that I've been recording it and start uploading it to the laptop so I can start putting it together. And a lot of B-roll footage of me walking around Union Square and whatnot isn't on my phone. I don't know if I actually accidentally deleted it or if it didn't record at all. It's just very strange. It just wasn't on the phone, so a lot of the B footage wasn't there. So if you're wondering why there wasn't like more scenic stuff for this episode, is because, of course, I messed up somehow. It is what it is. Anyway, since I did like spend a lot of time doing like the business aspect and trying to do some writing and working on the other stuff as well, that's going to be pretty much it for this segment. And tomorrow is the big finale. I know I said in one of the previous segments that I had just kind of started to do the first draft for issue number 4, and that it would have been nice if I had finished the first draft of issue 4 before the 100 days ended, just to kind of have like that midway point done by the end of this video series. But I had so many blocks, especially with the issue 1 first draft and the issue 3 first draft, for various reasons. I didn't hold up that much hope for it. But as you can see, I have the Office binder out, which can only mean one thing. Hell Beneath You, issue number 4, first draft, Somewhere I Belong. So I was able to actually do it. I got like this burst of inspiration where I couldn't really stop writing, and here it is, the first draft for issue 4. I'm almost speechless, to be honest. I was able to actually do it before the end of the 100 days because I really wasn't counting on it, especially with the way I've been feeling physically and emotionally. It has been a physical toll, all the stuff that's been happening lately, you know, between doctor visits and physical therapies and sinus infections and just dealing with a lot of stuff. I did it. I got to the halfway point of the scripts and maybe a little bit more, because originally I didn't have a prologue planned for this comic, but I ended up doing the prologue as well. So that's 5 scripts out of 9 scripts that are done. at least the first draft anyway. It feels good, it feels like getting the weight off your shoulders, like going through everything that I've been going through, and then to get to the point where you're doing the first drafts and I'm doing character sheets as well at the same time. It's really something, it's been a journey. I'll say that it's been a long journey. It has been a long road to hell doing this comic books mini series, and not just this one. The other projects that you've seen me work as well throughout this whole video series. But the main focus I wanted to bring to this 100 days was for Hell Beneath You. And again, like, I feel kind of bad, in the sense that I got stuck in so many parts doing this comic, especially writing that first draft. And I know a lot of outside things happened that kind of just blocked me mentally in a way and creatively in a way. But like I mentioned before, at least I was able to like keep it together enough to at least work on something creative every day throughout this 100 days, which is the main goal of this challenge anyway. I had in mind not to finish a project in particular, especially because I know there are a lot of projects that are underway and that are really close to finishing. So I just really wanted to get back into the habit of just creating and having fun again. And in that aspect, it has worked very well. Like, this has been these 100 days, despite everything that's happened in a personal manner and in a physical manner. Creatively, it's the most fun I've had in years, to be honest. It's just kind of balances things out a little bit. I don't know if it's just that I'm throwing myself into this a little more than usual, just because I'm going through or went through a lot of things. But I feel an odd satisfaction with these 100 days of making comics in this round. To be honest, I don't even remember which round this is. It's probably like the 5th or the 6th or something like that. Because I know, like, I wanted to do one based on The Mysterious Exorcist, but I didn't even get like a couple of days together. I probably did like the first 2 days, and I think that's when we had to do like an emergency move from one place to the other because of a whole bunch of stuff going on. It's been a journey, These past couple of years has been a journey, and especially this year has been very crazy. And like I said before, it's not just me, it's the entire world, really. It's a worldwide problem. But here we are, and I still haven't given up. And anyone that's watching, I hope you're not giving up either. I posted the 2022 goals for the Cannon Girl on the daily blogs I'm doing over at truthfulcomics.com. This will be the final blog that you'll be seeing in this video series, at least. So if you want to keep up to date with the other goals I have for my other comics that I'm working on and web comics and future projects, I suggest you to follow the either the Facebook page of Truthful Comics or go to the Truthful Comics website every day, or at least after every other day, to see what other comics I'm working on and the goals that I have for them. The Cannon Girl is one of my personal favorites. It definitely is a soft spot in my heart for this web strip. It's one of my more experimental and philosophical web strips that I've ever done. And it doesn't have like the views of a Nevermind or Fred Peterson. But again, like, it's not always about the views. It's about the content and the experience the readers have with it. And it always seems to have actually the most one of the most engagements compared to the other comics, even though it doesn't have as many views. So I really do like putting out this comic out there. As I mentioned before, I'm taking a step back from what I was doing towards the end of 2021, trying to catch up with all the web comics I couldn't do due to all the circumstances that happened in 2021. So I'm scaling it back for 2022 so I can slowly put everything out there consistently. So the Cannon Girl is the one that's going to be being published from this moment forward as the only web strip on Sunday. It was being updated simultaneously with Nevermind Truthful Comics Edition Season 2. But again, an effort to not burn myself out and to also take care of myself physically, I am just going to be posting the Cannon Girl alone on Sundays. And once I finish the Cannon Girl, then I'll be updating Nevermind on Sundays as well. And the same with Saturdays with Wepamani Wepito and Stupid the Cat. To not burn myself out as well, again, I'm just going to be updating Wepamani Wepito first, and then when that finishes, I'll continue with Stupid the Cat. And the reason why I chose Wepamani Wepito and the Cannon Girl specifically is because, well, in the case of Wepamani Wepito, it's already halfway finished, and the Cannon Girl next week will be halfway finished as well, since they're more advanced in that sense. I just want to finish these, and then Nevermind Season 2 and Stupid the Cat, since I had just started updating them, then I'll be able to like do the more full updates afterwards. So there was no reason in particular in a creative sense of why I chose one project over the other. It's just more of a convenience that Wepamani Wepito and the Cannon Girl just happened to be the strips that we're going to be finishing sooner, and I had started first in comparison to the other two. So I will be finishing these first. Hopefully I will be making the print versions available soon as well. My plan is, like with Nevermind as well, I'm going to, of course, wrap up the artwork production and whatnot on it way before the final strip hits online. So that way I can send the files over to Kablam, which is where I publish my comics through, and have the comics be available around the same time as the final strip comes out as well. So that if anybody that's been reading the strips or discovers it around that time, if they're interested in buying a physical copy or buying the PDF to have like a higher resolution, higher quality image of the web comic, they can certainly do that as well. Well, I've been writing the opening scenes for issue number 5 of Hell Beneath You. I've actually been listening to the vlogs of a colleague of mine. He's also a Puerto Rican comic book creator. His YouTube channel is in Humberto Art Comics. It's in Spanish. He does his own self-published comic called Dardy el Guardian. It's a very cool comic. He does stuff mostly digital, and I do enjoy like his vlogs. He's also done the 100 Days of Making Comics challenge before as well. He did it not too long after I had done it as well. So he's kind of like one of the OG 100 Days people. And he's kept on like every now and then doing art vlogs and showing his comics and t-shirts designs and whatnot. And I really do enjoy his content. If you understand Spanish or if you want to learn Spanish watching his channel, I do encourage you to do so, to check out his channel and subscribe. And I've also been checking out Spellbox Comics TV. I've appeared on his podcast before, actually. I know live interview with him last year. It was when I had just recovered from COVID and I was starting to get back into making my comics again. We hadn't gotten to know each other over the years. I purchased his comic book, Wildfly, and he has gotten my comics like Stupid the Cat as well. And we've been developing a pretty cool relationship for the last couple of years. And I've been checking out some of his vlogs as well again, and some of his art stuff. Kind of, I guess, to get into the mood and to when I do my own videos again more consistently. Like I was talking before, like last year, like towards the end of last year, was the most consistent I have been uploading videos on YouTube every Friday. And on this video, it's gonna be tomorrow, but by now it must have come out weeks and weeks before. I'm going to have Wednesdays and Fridays uploading videos, with the Long Road to Hell being published on Wednesdays. So that's going to be fun. It'll be just fun to be putting more content on my YouTube again. I've mentioned in other videos before how at one point my channel was kind of slowly starting to build a lot of momentum, especially in that time around 2008 to 2010. And then things just kind of stopped. Again, mostly because of injuries and physical stuff as well. And also, while I was living in Puerto Rico, especially back then, the internet wasn't the greatest either. So, and the equipment I had wasn't the greatest either also. Like things would keep breaking down and I would keep losing stuff as well. So, I had to make do with what I had at the time, so to speak. And again, like if you know Spanish, if you understand it, I encourage you to also check out Armando's YouTube channel, Spellbox Comics TV. He interviews other creative colleagues from comic books, from fine arts, actually professional wrestlers in Puerto Rico as well, actors. It's a really cool channel, and you can check out his art vlogs talking about his comic book Wildfly as well. So I definitely would tell you to check that out. And even if you don't understand Spanish, put on the subtitles. What can I say? Sometimes the automatic subtitles really don't match up what people are saying, but at least you'll kind of get the gist of it, is what I'm saying. So yeah, check out those two channels. If you enjoy my content and you understand Spanish, you'll definitely enjoy those two channels as well. Hey everyone. This is it. This is the final segment on the final episode of this version of 100 Days of Making Comics, The Long Road to Hell. I decided to like show my face and not have the mask on, because I think like that's the least I can do, especially since it's the series finale or season finale, if you want to see it as a season finale. I don't know if I'll do another hundreds challenge. Again, it'll all depend on what you guys want to see. If you guys want to see more content like this, I'll definitely go ahead and do another 100 Days of Making Comics later in the year, like around the same time, I guess, like starting to record around September, October, and then releasing the episodes once a week starting January 2023 or something like that. And again, if you guys would want to continue watching the continual process of Hell Beneath You, I can definitely do that. Hopefully by the time that it gets to around September, October, I will have probably already started illustrating issue number 1 and the prologue as well. It all depends on how many drafts I go through also with the scripts and all the things that I keep learning in the Scott Snyder classes as well. If you notice that I haven't talked about the Scott Snyder classes for a while now, it's because I don't want to keep repeating myself in the sense of, yes, I'm taking the Scott Snyder online Substack classes, but no, I can't really show too much of it because I don't want to be that guy that ruins it for the rest of the classmates by showing what exactly they're giving in the classes and whatnot. All I can say is that I've been learning a lot from the classes. Scott Snyder is one of my all-time favorite writers, right up there with Christopher Priest and Chris Claremont. And I've gained even more respect for his work after starting these classes and watching his methods and watching his own experiences of what he's gone through writing these comics as well. It's very inspirational and very motivational. Like, you get so much inspiration just by watching him talk at a panel at a comic book convention. Like, it's even more bizarre in a good way when it's kind of like a more personal touch of just being in a Zoom class meeting with him and other creators sometimes as well, which is really, really cool. Like, if anyone, this isn't like an endorsement, this isn't a paid promotion or anything like that. If you're a comic book creator and you want to like learn a lot of stuff, it's only $75 for a year. Like, sometimes you can blow off $75 in a day or two, depending on what you do, and you won't get much value back. And you will definitely get a ton of value from watching these classes from Scott Snyder. Like, I doubt he'll ever like see this or anything, but if by any chance he does, thank you so much, Scott Snyder, for helping inspiring not just myself, but such a big generation of other writers as well, with all the works that you put out there, from American Vampire to Batman to Voodoo Heart to Noctera to Death Metal. There's nothing but appreciation for you and all the work that you put out there. And I hope that I can raise my own level up to an even bigger standard, hold myself up to a bigger standard to put something out there that's of a better quality comic that people will truly enjoy, and hopefully in many cases make them think and make them reflect as well. So, yeah, it's like, again, like I said, I think earlier in a segment on this video, it's, in a way, I feel like a big weight has been lifted from my chest and my shoulders, like in these past 100 days. That I just, like I mentioned as well, like, my goal wasn't to finish a comic in the 100 days. My goal was to get that creative habit again of making comics and doing it from different aspects as well, not just for the creative side, but the business side as well. And just this week, or at least throughout this episode, I started like working on the business aspect of creating again as well. And it was actually pretty fun to do. Like, it took me quite a few hours to set things up, but it didn't even feel like it was hours of just working, really. Because when you do self-published stuff like this is essentially almost like a part-time job, or if you're lucky enough, a full-time job. And you just have to keep grinding at it, keep doing the best that you can do, like, especially if you're doing it all alone. Like I mentioned in one of the previous segments, I think it was on this video series, I'm doing everything by myself. If I had the resources to probably branch out other aspects of the creating to other people, to other creatives, I definitely would have by now. I would love to have a colorist for Fred Peterson, the Mighty Warlord. Or sometimes I wish I had like a permanent guest artist on Fred Peterson, the Mighty Warlord, where I can say, you know what, I'm going to take a small break for this chapter or for a couple of chapters and let this colleague do the artwork for once, you know. But such is the life of independent creators. You have to love comics to be able to do this. Otherwise, you would be a psychopath if you do this kind of stuff and you don't like it. At least in my opinion, anyway. Whew. Thank you all so much for your support throughout these years. It really has meant a lot. And again, like I've always said, that if I have at least one reader out there aside from myself, I'm going to keep doing all this. And I've been fortunate enough to retain readers this entire 15 years that Warlord has been being published online, and hopefully this year finally be published again in physical print as well. Like, I'm debating back and forth that if I do another 100 days of comics, since by then I'll be very focused on publishing Warlord as a physical comic again, I could just do like the main focus be on Warlord Truthful Comics Edition, with other stuff thrown on the side as well of what I'm working on with Nevermind, Hell Beneath You, and all my other projects. Similar to what I did with The Long Road to Hell with Hell Beneath You, where I would talk more about this project in particular and sprinkle the other stuff that I'm doing on the side, you know, to complement these videos and to show that I have been working 100 days creatively, even if I haven't done too much of Hell Beneath You or worked as much as I would have liked to. Like, I've been doing other stuff as well, aside like promotional artwork, videos, blogs, vlogs, preparing the groundwork for this year for my other webcomics as well, and scheduling out all the comics that I hope to put in print for this year. Hopefully some of them will have already been in because I'm talking like this like today. Today is what, January 5th, Wednesday, January 5th. I'm talking like this is going to be coming out in a couple of minutes on YouTube or something, but in reality it's going to be coming out 14 weeks later, which is crazy. But again, like I said, doing it in this style allows me the liberty of, you know, recording whatever I'm going to record and then put it together and then, you know, put it out there without that much pressure, because I've said it constantly, and I guess I'm saying it so that other people won't feel that pressure either. You know, don't put too much pressure on yourself, because if not, things just stop being fun. And there was a time where making the 100 days of making comics videos, they kind of stopped being fun as well, because like I said before, I put too much strain on myself to do these videos that it just didn't want to like do them at some point. You know, I never like outright didn't want to make them anymore, but I would feel incredibly guilty of I was too tired at the end of the day to sit down, record, and edit a video. As simple as some of these videos are, you know, just turn on your cell phone, flip the camera, and talk. But again, sometimes depending on how your day went, it does become a chore at some point. And doing it in this style, I had tried to do it in this style before with, you know, lesser success, because again, a lot of things get in the way. But this time was actually the first time of this challenge that I actually captured at least a few minutes of what I've been working on every single day of those 100 days, which was like one of the goals I wanted to have for this series as well. I wanted to be able to capture these small fragments of memory of doing something every day for those 100 days, because I wasn't able to do it before either. And thankfully, with this new focus that I had and this new determination and this new style of doing it, I was able to accomplish that. And, you know, that feels like a huge win for myself personally and creatively as well, that I actually was able to document all 100 days. Of course, some lesser, some more, and a lot of things got in the way. So many things happened throughout these 100 days, as you have no doubt seen by now. You see this face, it's a face of relief right now that I was able to accomplish this. There were a lot of times where I didn't know if I was going to be able to be honest. A lot of frustrations, a lot of loss, a lot of frustration, just frustration with a lot of things that really are out of my hands. You're never going to know when you're going to lose people. You're never going to know when you're going to get sick or hurt or whatever. Like, life can be so random like that sometimes. But it's like the movie says, Rocky, you know, it's not about, life is going to knock you down, and it's about, getting back up. You have to get back up and keep fighting and keep pushing forward. And I know I've said it before, and it's probably boring by now, but it's not boring to me, and hopefully it's not boring to some of you. You have to fight sometimes for what you want, for what you accomplish. There's always going to be people out there that's going to be energy vampires, that they're just going to drain you and drain you and drain you. And sometimes it's not just by words, sometimes it's by actions as well. Sometimes it could be a passive aggressive comment, a backhanded compliment. You can go on a live stream, on a podcast or something, and show your creation, and then that host will be like, oh, well, that's pretty much Batman, or something like that. And even if the host doesn't realize how much of a backhanded compliment that might be, it can chip away at people. It really can. And what I want to say to you is, don't let it get to you. It's only a moment, and it's only words. And even though words can really cut, because the saying is true, the pen is mightier than the sword in many cases, especially depending on how your mental health might be at that moment as well. If anything, all I want is for you to fight and keep pushing forward. It doesn't matter if you're doing it traditionally, if you can't afford a Cintiq, if you can't afford a tablet, if you can't afford an iPad. Comics started with paper and pencil and ink. As long as you have the willingness to do it, you can definitely do it. Don't let other people, even if it's other creators or other professionals, put you down. You can definitely take the critique when you need it to grow as a person and as an artist. But when someone tells you something malicious, like if you have more YouTube videos than you do comic books, then you're not really a creator or into comics. How dare they? And I know that's something that I talked about in another video. But again, I want to implore all of you creatives out there, whether it's comic books, whether it's a director, whether it's a screenwriter, whether it's an animator, whether you do fine arts, portraits, landscapes, 3D print art. It's all art. And you have it in you. If you have that spark, if you have that inspiration, if you want to do something, do it. As long as it doesn't interfere with your physical or mental health, go ahead. Go ahead and put your all into it. What's the worst that can happen? That no one is going to look at what you're doing? No one's looking at what you're doing right now because it's not out there to begin with. Like, people can't see even less of what you haven't put out there already. Sure, if you go 0 for 0, that doesn't mean that you have a negative percentage. But at the same time, does that show effort? Does that show determination? And there are legitimate fears out there. I don't want to like condescend and belittle whatever fear you might have or whatever insecurities you might have. Like I've mentioned before, I think in this video series itself, my own family didn't believe in me. A lot of my close friends didn't believe in me. I've been in a relationship where the person didn't believe in me either. And look at where I am now. And even though I don't have a comic that's like a best-selling comic or a New York Times bestseller or something being adapted into a movie or an animation, I've been doing a webcomic for 15 years. I have been nominated for online awards. I have won a couple in the beginning. I have readers that started reading my comics and now I can call them friends because they've been reading my comics for 15 years. It's been a hell of a ride and I wouldn't change anything in the world, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. If anything I ever do like becomes big or whatever, that'll be the icing on the cake, I guess, but what I have right now is good. I can't complain at all. And that's what I want for all of you, to not be able to complain or wonder what if. I want you guys to make it. Even if it's just for yourself. Even if spite is your main motivator or anger. Just do it. You can do it. Don't let anyone demean you or belittle you. If nobody believes in you, believe in yourself. And if you need those words of affirmation and validation, like, hey, I believe in you and you can do this. You really can. Again, don't be intimidated or worried by you don't have like this certain kind of tech or this certain kind of pencil. A regular yellow pencil with an eraser. Paper, it doesn't have to be top of the line Bristol comic book paper. You can use sketch paper. I've seen artists do their comic on typewriting. Typewriting, that aged me. Computer printer copy paper and make their comics out from that. I have seen people illustrate their comics, pen and ink, even letter traditionally as well, on copy paper, scan that, staple it, and sell it at zine festivals and comic book shops. Some even like in bigger bookstores like Strand Bookstore. The resources are out there more than ever now compared to when I was growing up, especially. Like this generation, you can draw a webtoon on your phone. If you have a stylus that's good enough, you can create your own webcomic on your phone nowadays. And you don't even have to buy something like Procreate. There's so many free apps that even have the templates already, like the Huon Sketch app. You can download that on your iPhone or your Android tablet or your iPad. You can create nowadays just like that. And it is truly amazing what you can create nowadays. Like, it's already been like a couple of months since it came out. You look at something like Wonder Woman Historia, illustrated by Phil Jimenez. He illustrated that on an iPad with Procreate. That is mind-blowing, what you can accomplish nowadays. On a tablet, on your cell phone. Basically what I'm saying, you have no excuse nowadays to not make your comic and not make it how you want to make it. Sure, there'll be times where it'll be difficult. Life is difficult sometimes. As perfectly understandable if you want to stop creating. There's no shame in quitting if you need to quit. So when I say don't quit, I'm not saying that I would be disappointed or people would be disappointed or ashamed of you if you did. Certainly there would be readers that sometimes will be disappointed and not understand that all the things that goes into creating something that they enjoy. But you have to focus on you. As long as you're happy doing this, and even if you're stressed out and sometimes want to give up, but you're still fighting to do this and still want to keep doing this, keep doing this. You know, see it through to the end, and hopefully it'll inspire other people to make their own creations and see it through the end as well. And that's just pretty much what I want. If anything, the message that I want people to get from this video series especially is life is going to throw curveballs at you always, sometimes constantly. There'll be days where you're going to feel like life is right up on your face all the time and always going to be there to tell you you can't do it and send you people to tell you that you can't do it, that you're wasting your time, that you're nothing, that you're a nobody. And those are the times that you're going to have to bite down, grind your teeth, pull those straps up, and, you know, flip life off, you know, and say, well, I might not be able to, but you know what? I'm going to do it anyway. And keep pushing forward, keep moving forward. You know, don't take it from anyone, and especially from yourself. Don't take that from yourself, because sometimes it's just ourselves that keeps repeating that lie and keep believing that lie as well, that what you're doing isn't worth it. It is worth it, and if nobody said it to you, it's worth it to me, if that counts for something. Anyway, I've been rambling a little too much right now, and 100 days, what a past 100 days these were. I'll certainly never forget them, for better or worse. I don't know how many people are going to be watching this, but if anything, like I said, this is mostly for myself, as well as narcissistic and selfish as that sounds. You know, I also need to, just like I'm telling you guys, to remember that you're worth it and that you are someone. You know, I kind of need to remind that of myself too, every now and again, because, you know, we're all human. We all have our flaws, and we all have our days where we don't believe it. But as long as in the long run you do believe it, that's what matters. Anyway, this is me signing off after 100 more days. And, you know, through the highs and through the lows of this challenge, all I can say that in that first step that I wanted to take to make myself get used to being creative every day again, this challenge was a flawless victory. Thank you all for watching, and if anything, I wish for all of you to have a flawless 2022 and beyond. Thank you, and be safe.